One, of course, of the main applications for ChatGPT is brainstorming and ideation. What I really like to use it for is to either come up with potential keywords to target or help me better structure keywords. And I have a couple of thoughts of how to do that. Let's start with a list of keywords. So I'm just going to feed that in here. So the keyword research here is about severance. And you see that I'm copy pasting a topic and a target keyword. And it could, for example, ask it like, can you provide like related keywords for each of those target keywords? So first of all, I'll teach ChatGPT, or give it some context, better said. Teaching might be a bit far-fetched, but I'll give it some context. Below you find 5 topics and target keywords. I can even say SEO target keywords. Can you add related keywords to the target keywords? Again, I formulated it as a question. You can also just command the machine. You don't have to be polite to it, but for some weird reason, I still have that programmed in. You can say, cool, okay, so now ChatGPT spits out some related keywords for each target keyword. I only copy pasted 5 over so that this goes faster, but as long as you don't overstep the character limit of 4,000 and a bit of change, you should be fine. So now I can see that these related keywords are already fairly good, right? So is severance pay taxable? And then it gives me related keywords about withholding and unemployment benefits, the IRS. So ChatGPT understands the context here. It's pretty fascinating. Okay, great. Now I have that. And now I could, for example, take it a step further. And I want to understand, for example, what is the user intent for all of these related keywords? And I can just ask it or command it, add the user intent to each related keyword. And actually, I can also include the target keyword to each target and related keyword. Let's see what it does here. Okay, it says here the target keywords and related keywords with user intent. So now it tells me, hey, the target keyword is severance and the related keyword is severance meaning. And the goal here, of course, is to understand the definition and concept of severance pay. It's pretty damn good. It gives me understanding of each of those user intents. And now that I'm getting this output, I want to see if maybe ChatGPT can provide this to me in a table, because it's a bit difficult to comprehend when it's all just in bullet points. I'm going to let it finish this, and then we're going to ask it to reformat in a table. Reformat the output into a table. Boom. And it says, yep, sure, no problem. Here's the output formatted as a table. It's funny how it includes the line breaks here as a code. It's the first time I've seen that, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You see here that these should actually be line breaks. So we're going to, once ChatGPT is done generating this, we're going to ask it to replace the line breaks or the bracket commands here with actual line breaks. Replace brackets with line breaks. All right, now it reformats that again. I should have been more precise. Now it has the closing command for the line breaks. So I'm going to ask it to replace those as well. No big deal. I could even just copy paste this all into a Google Sheet or into Excel and just search and replace, or use search and replace to remove these closing command brackets. No problem. I'm actually going to ask it to do 2 things now. First of all, remove the... Well, actually, it might be a bit too ambiguous. No, actually, we're going to use user intent. I actually like that it's a bit more elaborate. Cool. Chris says you can also use ChatGPT to do keyword research and clustering. Yes, that's pretty much what I'm trying to accomplish here, especially the clustering part. Let's see if we can enrich this with a couple more things and a couple more prompts. Okay, so ChatGPT doesn't want to exclude the brackets commands here. We're just going to leave them in and ignore them for now. Again, this can be easily replaced, or with a little bit of better prompts, you can probably get this out of the output here. Maybe as a next piece, so what other information could we include here? We have the related keywords, user intent. We could now, for example, say, hey, can you create me a content brief based on these pieces of information? Can you create a content brief for the first topic? I'm not going to do it for all 5 topics. We're going to jump over that for now. It's more minute details, but let's maybe turn this this into a content brief. I'm going to only do this for the first topic because everything else would probably take a little bit of time. It already provides pretty good output and includes a piece of information that I haven't asked it to include in the first place, right? So it clearly says, oh, what's the topic, target, keyword, user intent, but it says content type, it has a title in here, and then it has different sections. So that's already pretty darn good. It almost writes the blog article for me here. As a next step, let's see how many sections. Okay, come to the conclusion. It basically creates instructions for the writer, right? So it says in the conclusion, hey, summarize the key points covered, provide some final thoughts, add a call to action even. That's pretty damn good, I have to say. You could technically copy paste that and send it over to your client. Maybe you want to do a bit more. You want to check the search volume for the related keywords here and brush this up a little bit, but that's already fairly close to an outcome. I could even ask it like, hey, for each section, can you create a good heading? So let's say H2. Okay, it recreates all the information from the content brief, introduction, and now we're getting some pretty good headings here, including the H2 HTML markup. We have definition, types of severance pay, eligibility. And what I really like about that is when we go back here, I only started with a topic and the target keyword, right? So I didn't provide any other information. All the related keywords, the user intent, and so on, all of that was delivered by ChatGPT. And it also said that part of the user intent is to compare and contrast the severance package versus severance salary in general, right? And so you can see how it comes back to that when it talks about how to calculate severance pay, even impact on retirement savings and so on. So that's already fairly good. I did not tell it to include the content type here. It did that completely by itself. I do assume though that because I asked it to create a content brief, that it might not consider this being a video. I could ask it, hey, could you write a video script about this topic? Or do you think a video or a blog article would perform better? It might give me a decent answer to that. But I think that because I said, create me a content brief, that it inferred that an article or a blog post is probably what I want here. And of course, it will do that. So let's see how ChatGPT modifies this content brief, which now turns from a content brief almost to an article. So far, pretty accurate. Severance pay is a type of compensation that is given to an employee who's laid off or terminated from their job. It is meant to provide a cushion for the employee during the transition to a new job. So yeah, that's all fairly accurate and also pretty good. And then we'll write the definition and we'll write all the other sections that I already asked it to write. So that's pretty awesome. And maybe just to call it out again, I would be hesitant to copy paste that over on my website, especially if it was a client. But I would not hesitate at all to send all of this information to an editor or to a writer and say, hey, here is a skeleton of the article. Here's a outline and some potential input. Feel free to use as you wish, but take this to like the next level from here. Even as a writer myself, I might sometimes just ask it to write a blog article about X just for me to see, hey, is there anything that I forgot or that I should keep in mind or some viewpoint that might be interesting. I can also ask it to counter-argue myself. So we'll understand the context here, right? When I say, can you also do this, right? It understands that this refers to writing a few paragraphs for each section. So that's the power of AI, right? It understands that type of context pretty flawlessly and then quickly understands what I want here. Okay, so let's see. We can take this even a step further. Eligibility of severance pay, types of severance pay, definition of severance pay. Let's look at the types. Lump sum payments, and then there are extended benefits. Okay, let's just finish this here. We can now take this a step further to make the article a bit more comprehensible and see if we can tease out more of the key information. So now we can ask it, once it's done, please create a table comparing the different types of severance. So now we have this table, we can copy paste that into the types of severance pay just to make the content a bit easier to digest for humans. It's not just a wall of text. You can do this for each of those sections if you want to, right? Like you can now say, okay, actually, let's just do this because we have a little bit of time. And then we get a bullet list here. And that I haven't verified this, but that might also be a long tail keyword. am I eligible for severance pay or something else? And maybe there's a bulleted list of a bulleted featured snippet that I might now become eligible for based on some of this input here or output that are set from ChatGPT. So that's all pretty dandy. I might want to ask it to maybe rewrite some of these sections or paragraphs in a slightly different tone, right? So explain this here. And it will give me a bit of an emotional perspective here as well. It's pretty impressive what you can do, again, with a little bit of patience and a bit of playing around with this. Something that I also like to do is is just Google severance and see what are the questions that are relevant for this keywords in the people also ask box. Now this is all about the show. So let me just find this query to severance pay and just copy paste these. There are tools that will also extract them for you. One of the tools that I like is search response, and you can enter severance here. And it's a people also ask tool that extracts the questions that people have. I'm going to take 5 of these. I'm just going to copy paste them for the sake of it. I'm going to ask it, please answer the following questions. Okay, I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Cool. Okay, now I can just copy paste them over and I'll get these questions answered and wrapped in FAQ schema just like I did before. So I can copy paste this. And I'll show you how to take this maybe even 1 or 2 steps further in just a second. Closing some tabs in the meantime. This might take a little bit because I copy pasted 5 questions here, but this will be great because now I have eligibility for a featured snippet because I have my bulleted list here. Where is it? I have my table, which might also help with featured snippets. I have my FAQ, which might also help with FAQ-rich snippets. I'm now making this article really enticing, increase the chance to drive organic traffic, but there's a few more steps left to make this really awesome. And you can at any time you can click on stop generating and it will just stop what it does. If you want to move forward, I want to give it a chance to finish here, but if it's going to take too long, I'm going to actually interrupt it and ask it to stop. Again, make sure to copy paste this into a validator. Don't just take it for God's word, but make sure to validate that this is correct. Brady asked, do you put FAQ schema on most or all of your blogs? I thought it could only be used for a single page. You can put it on as many blogs as you want to. Google might limit or probably will limit the number of results that show an FAQ-rich snippet. Most of the times it's 2, but there are cases where they might allow a lot more. But there's no limitation to how often you can use FAQs. You can use them on all pages. I, for my own content, don't always include it, but for when I help clients create SEO-focused content, I strongly advise it to have at least either review-rich snippets, FAQ-rich snippets, or how-to. And all of those can be done with this. I can also show you, if you're interested, let me know. But if you're interested, I can show how to use ChatGPT to add how-to schema to a step-by-step process. It would be the same idea as FAQ schema. No problem, Brady. Cool. So now I have a whole lot of stuff together for my article. I'm actually going to show. Okay, Brady, I'm gonna show you how to do that. So now we have to think. So now we have the topic of severance, and we want to think about a how-to angle to create some how-to schema. So let's see, calculation of severance pay. That could be a great starting point. Let me be more precise, right? One of the key things of working with AI in general is to be as precise as you can be. So now we'll create the answer with how-to schema markup. It's as simple as that. And then again, from here, the goal would be to validate that and then copy paste the code over. Now, the thing to keep in mind, if you want to get schema or how-to schema, so actually now how to calculate severance pay. So WikiHow, you see that these are 7 steps here, and each of them are headings. So that works best. For how-to schema. Instead of marking up single sentences or so, you want to make sure that you actually have headings. Cool. Okay, so that much about how-to schema. By now the output should be done. It will also give this to me in the text, of course, so I can just copy paste it over. I could maybe just take part of this text, mark that up as a heading, and then add how-to schema to increase my chances to get a how-to. Now I have a lot of good things or pieces together for my content, but one of the most important ones is missing, and that is the heading. ChatGPT gave me what is severance pay and how does it work. Let's actually get a couple of variations of that. And now it will give me some much better sounding title tags. I could copy paste them over into an engagement tool that tells me how engaging the title is. But of course, you also want to always, right? Like for certain topics, you don't want to have too much color in your title, right? So mastering severance pay, a guide for employees, that sounds pretty grandiose. Something like navigating severance tips for a smooth transition sounds much, much better. Maybe, we know that numbers and titles typically convert pretty well. So you can also ask it, can you add few variations with numbers that relate to the number of sections in the article? Yeah, good point, Marisa. You can adopt it. You can ask it to adopt any brand voice that you want. So you can make this about. You can ask it to write in Shakespearean language. Maybe not the best brand voice, but you could say, imagine you were Steve Jobs, and give me a title that Steve Jobs would use. So let's just try it out. Give me a few variations. 7 things you need to know about severance pay, 5 types of severance pay, and how they work. I mean, some of these are great titles, I think. Give me a few variations in the tone of Steve Jobs. Let's just see what it does. Yeah, severance pay. It's not a termination. It's an opportunity for new beginnings. We don't settle for less, neither should you. It's fantastic. I can hear Steve's voice in the back of my neck. The best way to predict the future is to create it, and that's what you can do with a solid severance package. Okay, maybe a bit far. I'm not sure if I would go with those, but you get the gist here, right? You can play with this. You can make this stick out more in the search results, and ideally, you could even copy paste some of the titles of the top 10 results and say, create me something within certain boundaries that stands out from the other titles. Now we need a description as well, right? So and then of course we'll do that. So now I can copy paste the descriptions over. You can now play with this and maybe get some human feedback on which of those descriptions resonate the most. I also need to think about distribution for my content. So now I can ask it to maybe summarize the article that it created in a tweet or in a LinkedIn post. And again, you want to be specific here. So just saying tweet might not yield as good as an output as 280 character tweet. So let's do that. And then I can copy paste it over. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, I think we're good here. Again, we can turn this into email copy, LinkedIn post. We can ask it to create an outreach email saying, hey, I created this guide for severance. Would you want to link to it? I'm not a huge fan of these outreach emails, just to say it up front, but if you have good experiences, you can use it for that as well. So you can take it into all sorts of directions. And my goal here was to just show how you can set context for ChatGPT and then keep building on it and create all sorts of outputs that you can then use, fact check, review, edit, and then push it live.